All right, hey, with another Mind of Mir for an interview section. I'm very proud to have Harut. I'll screw up your last name like crazy. Every time I see it on my caller ID, I'm like, what the hell is that? He's the CEO of Blue Scorpion, and actually is my personal physical therapist and trainer and nutritionist. And what do you call the person that helps you with your vitamins? I am a nutritionist. And so here today. Hey, man, how's it going?
Good, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it. And, it's been a journey so far.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you because not only my connection with you, but
yeah.
I don't think we've never had a moment where it's not super interesting conversation where not just a tidbit of information you tell me that's kind of like alternate. It's like mind-blowing. Wow, okay, that just changed my whole view of that whole industry type of statements. Everything from physical therapy. I mean, hell, doing a squat, we had a conversation about weight placement and coming up. And I'm like, you know what? That makes more sense to do it that way. When on the athletic field, if I ever drove my heels into the mat and not drive the ball with my foot, why am I squatting like that? If I'm an athlete trying to develop the squat for that. So from that all the way to the Blue Venom, your guys' product has completely changed a lot of the things I do. And it came from an area that originally, if anybody would have told me homeopathic anything, luckily I'm open-minded. I listen to everything, even if I have my doubts to begin with. But the Blue Scorpion, obviously people say homeopathic. You run into that problem almost daily, I'm sure.
100%, because it's like homeopathic because it's the industry or the name has been kind of frowned upon, in a sense. So it's like everyone is always being skeptical of the product, right? There's always skepticism, or you sound like a snake oil salesman. Everything I've already heard in a very short period of time that we've been, live in the market, but this was a long time coming. This is a product has decades worth of R&D behind it. You know what I mean? So it's finally great to see it in the marketplace. But yeah, I mean, it's when it comes to just overall human performance, all of that, there's a holistic approach to it. And what I mean by holistic, it's more like what's natural. It could be from a fitness standpoint, like a performance standpoint. What's a natural movement pattern versus something that, for example, digging your heels into it for a power squat, quote unquote.
Right? And to go on that detail, what we're talking about, Harut's helping me get my leg strength back. And when I was driving up with the squat, he was watching my form. He was like, hey, are you driving with the balls of your feet? I'm like, no, the heels. Don't you put your weight back? He goes, when athletically would you ever grab somebody and then pull you? And in fact, it actually blew my mind. I sat there like, you're absolutely right. For anybody who's wrestled it a little bit, even a mat return, when you lock up somebody around the waist, we're always talking drive your hips towards the person, bring them in. And now all of a sudden here, I'm teaching a movement to strengthen myself. It's the exact opposite pattern where I'm like, oh shit, yeah. I mean, that might be good for lifting more weight on a bar in that movement of having weight on your back. Okay, but as far as if you grab somebody in front of you, extend yourself on an arm bar. If you're driving your hips forward. I would never sit there going, reach back, pull back, and then drive. I'm like, wow, I never ever do that movement. And so then on this part, you said two things as far as the holistic part, but to even take a step further back, when you said new to the market, you're talking new to the U.S. because this is something since I think the 60s, that Cuba, Dominican Republic, the people in other areas of the country outside that don't have the same pharmaceutical companies that villainize them for trying to keep, a grip on the fucking industry, a grip on the industry. They've had access to this, and they've been curing all kinds of things and fixing things. Well, I guess you can't say the curing aspect. Well, I guess you can. They're doing it. I'm not talking about our part. There's been all kinds of wonderful. I mean, these guys pay thousands of dollars to show up there, and as a U.S. individual citizen, this is the first time I've had access to this at this point. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. So this product was not legally available. Not legally, but it was more of a niche product. It wasn't like a direct-to-consumer commercial grade level available.
I could do the whole order 90 days less supply and for my personal use, right?
Exactly. You can get online, bluescorpion.com, right? So you can order it. It'll show up on your doorstep. Before, it was like you have to know someone that knew someone that knew someone. And then there was a lot of, when we were doing, for example, we were doing a lot of health conferences, we had, people approach us, which was kind of rare that they even knew about, the benefits of Blue Scorpion Venom. So it was like, they were questioning us, was this authentic, real Blue Scorpion Venom? Because they've had ordered it from Cuba and other places where they got it. It was just, nothing in there. So they didn't feel benefits. But our product,
because the idea of blue venom, the venom scorpion venom itself, that's not really disputed. I mean, when that was actually how Chemo first introduced, he goes, hey, when he was talking about it, he goes, by the way, go look up what's the most valuable substance in the world as far as, liquid. And I'm like, oh, I Googled it for a second and it showed that it was a mind-boggling experience. If those at home, if you don't believe me, go ahead and Google on your phone or do a little search on the value of blue scorpion venom or just the most valuable liquid you can purchase out there right now.
Yeah, it's valued as the most expensive liquid on earth. And the reason, because it's obviously it's like hard to get because you have to do manual extractions, and then there's a lot of therapeutic benefits and research, and so far that's still ongoing. But if you go on, like, for example, NIH, you'll see a lot of scorpion venom research studies, and then also blue scorpion venom. And the cool thing about blue scorpion venom is blue scorpion in general is non-lethal, which is already a plus, right? And then it is a multi-peptide, naturally occurring multi-peptide solution. So you have an anti-inflammatory, pain relieving, and then a few other things that help with the body to heal naturally. So it gets basically body into a what we call it homeostasis, and allows the body to heal itself, right? So and that's what having a homeopathic natural product, that's an alternative to what we've been using, right? When I was playing soccer competitively, I would pop out ibuprofen before the game. I had to, or else the shin splints were crazy. I had crazy shin splints. And then also competing, taekwondo, always you had some sort of aching pain, something like that we had to pop pills. Now you have an alternative solution, so that's the beautiful thing about it is like the world is finally ready to have a natural product that is, kind of like left field almost, where it's kind of cool because then you get a chance to really talk about it. Like, hey, what's Blue Scorpion? Well, Blue Scorpion is a homeopathic company that makes a pain and inflammation relief product made from blue scorpion venom, bee venom, and poison ivy. So in a homeopathic dilution, it's completely safe for the body. On top of that, the venom goes through a purification process, so there's no toxicity in the product. There's no, you can't be addicted to it, and it works with the body's natural healing.
That's actually the only option that I found for inflammation, because if someone right now asks me, hey, is there anything you could take from inflammation, or have you taken that doesn't come from the pharmacy? I'm like, no. I mean, you take naproxen, obviously ibuprofen is the monster, but that helps. But gosh, you know what I mean? Like, it kills your kidneys. You know what I mean? Like, even my doctor one time, I get painkiller, and then the doctor was like, hey, and I was asking for a prescription level ibuprofen because I'm like, hey, so I don't have to stop. You only get 200 milligram dose over the counter. And he just looked at me and he's like, well, how many do you want? How long are you going to take? Now, mind you, this is a guy that knows all the other medications I'm taking, but he freaked out about the ibuprofen because of what it does to your kidneys. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, too, I started doing shots of Toradol. It's another one that people, I think, are very familiar with that you can get from the doctor that's inflammation that helps. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what is out there naturally you can take to get rid of inflammation, and that actually works? I would have shrugged I have no idea. I'm like, man, there's nothing out there until I found Blue Scorpion. Yeah.
And look, from a natural inflammation management solution, you have, fasting. Intermittent fasting works pretty well. So that's a good way to start. But, when you mentioned about kidneys, I want to kind of talk about that. That's why this is a oral solution. It's a sublingual delivery, right?
Holding your tongue for 7 seconds is what
you're already a pro at this, So you've been using it for what? How long has it been?
Probably about 9 months now.
Yeah. So
actually, though, the other day you still corrected me on something. I pulled out my bottle because I have a travel size bottle, and then I didn't have time to take it from the larger bottle to put it in, so I just kind of had it there. I'm like, hey, normally I don't travel with the big gas bottle. And as I went to the ministry, like, hey, you got to shake it up, man. He goes, yeah. And I kind of sat there like, oh, okay. I didn't realize I had only given it like one or two swigs. Like, no, shake it up, because the peptides float to the bottom and stuff. Like, oh, shit. I had no idea. I'm
Yeah.
glad you told me.
Yeah. And it's those little details do matter in this situation. But yeah, man, it's a revolutionary medicine, as you already know, bro. And
How was your first experience with the Blue Venom? Like when you took it, saw it, or in what situation caused you to be such, I mean, not just a believer, but you've left two highly paying, gyms that you had at the time. You were running that. You said, hey, I'm going to leave California. I'm going to sell my stuff, gear basically, and buckle down. And this has to get out to the world, because financially, it really wasn't the motivating factor for you. In fact, if anything, it's probably been a scary step. You've been financing yourself. And then you make that leap. What was that? I mean, it had to be something that really caught your attention.
It's to change the world. So for me, I've always been on this mission ever since, I kind of like figured out or came to the conclusions like, what do I want to do in my life? What's my purpose? Right. And it was like, leave this planet in a better place than I found it. Okay. So that's
admirable.
That's my purpose. And thank you. And when I got introduced to the product, to Blue Scorpion, and right now at that time, it was still in R&D. There was no Blue Scorpion company. There was no homeopathic formula. There was variations, and, we were going through R&D, but I got some samples and I sent it to my mom. And this is the story I tell everybody, because that's what happened. Was my mom and my sister were the decision makers for me, where it changed their life, like completely changed their life. So being, I'm the third of 10 kids, so my mom's, her body went through a lot, and she's got a lot of, nerve pain and musculoskeletal pain and, stomach issues, gut health, all of that. And she has a hard time sleeping. So when I sent her the bottle and, did a follow-up with her a few days later, she's like, yeah, I'm sleeping. I don't wake up in the middle of the night.
Which we talked about in the past.
Yeah.
Essential.
If
Nothing
you can't
else really
sleep,
matters. Yeah.
Exactly. If you can't sleep, you can't recover. So that's why, it's one of the main things we ask for someone, that gets on there, like pay attention to your sleep patterns first before anything else, because that's like the first indicator. And yeah, man, I mean, when I saw that, it helped her change her life. And I was like, all right, because I read the studies, like, you're like, I'm reading them, but how real is this? Because it's so left field, right? And I've been in the industry, the health and wellness, sports performance side of it for a long time at a professional level, that if this would existed, we would have known, at that time, we were doing back in 2016 is when we started doing the genetic testing at my gym, doing the methylation testing, all these custom genetic-based supplementation and nutrition programs, way ahead of before the market really caught on. So I was always looking, searching for cutting edge, leading, innovative ways to help a person perform. And performance is not always about, for me, it's not always about athleticism. It's, you can perform better at your task, being a better person, just overall elevating your performance from every angle possible. Executive, mother, business, athlete, whatever your level of performance may be, that's fine. So, and that's what we cater to. So when I first heard about this and I put it to the test, my mom was the decision maker, to be honest with you, overall. But when I used it personally, I don't have any chronic pains. I don't have any issues. So I was taking it. I was like, what am I supposed to feel? And then I kind of switched my style. Instead of doing the 2 and 2, right? I took 4 at night. And that put me to sleep. The following morning, I woke up. I was like, okay, now I feel the difference. Like, wow. I felt rested.
I actually have empirical proof. When I don't take it, my REM sleep, because I follow my sleep through the night on my watch, and, I get a breakdown, like how much, deep sleep, light sleep. And one of the scores is, the REM, rapid eye movement. And my rapid eye movement will be almost 20, 30 minutes. Whereas when I don't take it, there's times I don't have any.
Yeah.
There's times I've woken up and missed a dose or been out of town, usually when it happens. And, the one time was because they took my bottle from me. That's why I'm so adamant about carrying a smaller one, because I went through security and, I guess they thought I could blow the plane up with a large bottle of
homeopathic Blue Scorpion pain and inflammation relief.
You know what actually made me mad about that is the bottle was only a quarter filled. And so
Oh,
they
wow.
go, oh, Yeah, 3 ounces. I'm like, yeah, but look at it. That's only 3 ounces of body. But the bottle said, whatever the ounces are on it, that obviously the larger bottle's above 3 ounces. I think it says 10 or something on the outside, 10 point something.
Yeah.
And so, how much does it say?
4.
4. No, the 120 millimeters, the 4 fluid ounces. All right. So the 4 fluid ounces was too much to take on the plane. But again, the bottle's only a quarter full. Wasn't half, wasn't 3/4. So I'm like, hey man, like do the math. There's no way that I'm taking more than 3 ounces in that bottle.
Yeah.
But it says 4. I'm like, so if I bought a gallon of water and write 3 ounces on the outside, I print it out and it looks all professional. Are you telling me you're gonna let me walk through because it says 3 ounces? To me, it's like, just come on, man, use some common sense. So that was a time that I'd gone out of town. I was and did not have it with me.
Yeah.
So, and in my REM sleep, not the first day really didn't affect it, but actually the second, third, fourth day, it dropped significantly. I was like, wow, I really do. And it's funny. The only reason I even paid attention to that to begin with is because Jennifer, the third night, she's like, hey, are you having like crazy dreams? I was like, not really. In fact, I don't know if I've heard anybody say that, but okay. I mean, I'll ask. Yeah. But then I kind of like put 2 and 2 together. I was like, hey, babe, I think you're not getting much REM sleep either. And that's when we dream. So you might just have crazy dreams to begin with, or it's just because you're in a dream state for a longer period, just it's significantly hitting you harder. I don't know. It's necessarily giving you crazy dreams, but it's giving you opportunity to dream. So you got to look somewhere else for why they're crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've got a lot of feedback from, 60, 65-year-old people that are using it, both male and female, that their sleep some of them say, I haven't slept like this in decades.
Wow, that's amazing.
I haven't dreamt like this since I was a child. Like, these are the things that, that our customers are saying. So it's, the proof is in the pudding, and, as they say. So, I mean,
besides sleep, we've hit hard on. Obviously, we also know the advantages of that. As far as the inflammation, I firsthand have experienced. That's another area that I know that, like, because I fly so much and all the injuries I have, I started getting bad to the point where I was going to start seeing a cardiologist. I'm like, shit, man, do I have something wrong with me that I'm swelling up this much after every flight? And then now, when I stay on a steady dose of taking the Blue Venom, I don't have it. I actually have veins back in my feet, and you can see it even through traveling. But there's an area of it that kind of amazed me that I wasn't aware of. And it's funny because once you said it, I'm like, you know what? A lot of my stuff is firing on all cylinders. I think that might be why. Because it's like one of those things that, like, I'm like, hey, man, that was just going well for me. Like, it's the ability that synergistically works with everything else you're taking. It kind of just makes you utilize what you have in your body already. So if you're taking some kind of supplement, taking creatine, you talk about how much it actually amplifies the usage.
It just, in general, if you have high inflammatory markers in your body, whatever biohacking, supplementation, even eating, right? You're not maximizing on those benefits. So if you can, down-regulate inflammation and get into that, homeostasis state in a sense, and whatever you're doing is always going to have a better outcome. So, like, for example, athletes, why is recovery now more important, right, for athletes than ever before? Before it was all about performance. Perform. When you're done performing, perform some more, right?
Well, that was the days, too, like when people up until about 10 years ago, if an athlete at a high level was ever bragging about what they do that makes them better than everybody else, it was like, the 10 hours in the gym. I got 2 hours here, 3 hours here. Now you have guys, like, you hear LeBron James, one of the statements he made to brag about his level of performance at his age was, I spend $1 million a year in recovery. Didn't say working out. He said recovery, which now we all realize how big it is in recovery. I think that's where the trend, like you said, now has started to go just recently. Thank goodness. But now everybody knows and realizes how important it is to, when you're out of the gym, what you're doing, not so much what you're in the gym doing.
Exactly. And with how health and wellness has, like, literally skyrocketed after, 2020, there's so much attention on this, and everyone's spending a lot of time, money, energy on supplementation, lifestyle, and fitness programs, and all of this. And it all comes down to having a more of a simple approach, not just dumping a lot of things into your body thinking it's going to work.
You're still working on that with me.
Yeah.
Who's been to my house and seen that? I probably have to take about 20 different vitamins.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna
20 bottles. I have it literally in a tray so that it's easier to take out of the cupboard.
Yeah. Look, that's why, like, if you go on our website, right, you'll see a breakdown comparison of if every supplement you took individually compared to a Blue Scorpion, right, what that cost would be. It's depending on what you're doing. It's anywhere almost like, I think about like $600 to almost $900, $1,000 if you took each product differently. And each product.
And you're talking too about products, not so much even right now that we get from the vitamin store, but now there's a bunch of stuff that people can order that is kind of in that realm of the gray market. It's not illegal, not legal, but peptides is a huge conversation ever since I think Joe Rogan talked about the Wolverine stack and what that was. I know I, myself included, I was on the internet going, shit, the TB500, how can I get a hold of this, BB157? And now it's like, how can I get a hold from a legitimate source and start taking these things? You were already discussing with me. They're like, hey, now that you're taking this isn't going to be as important as you think it is. It does that already.
Exactly. And this is a total body approach, and it's an oral solution, right? So it's like, for example, BPC, right? It's an acute approach. Wherever the inflammation is, if it's shoulder, if it's knee, right, you're going to have to
Site injection, yeah.
Site injection. This one, you already know. You take it orally, and it goes where it needs to go. How easy is that?
Yeah.
Right? Simplified.
People don't like needles.
Exactly. I don't like needles. I actually tried BPC when we were just still in R&D with this to bring we were sampling things out. I wanted to do a comparison. I did 1 week of BPC. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't prick myself twice a day, every day for the rest of my life. I just can't do it. And on top of that, you have to cycle it out.
I was saying, when you said that cycle of life, like, or when you said the rest of my life, I'm like, well, actually, you're only supposed to do it for about 8 to 10 weeks at a time because your body can actually.
But you're going to go back
get
and
used
get
to it.
Exactly.
You know?
But as a,
You're right. It's still a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. So, and I'm still going to train the way I train. Thank God I don't have any chronic or, systemic illnesses, inflammation, anything like that. So I'm still going to train the way I train, especially with kettlebells. That's my shit. I have to be able to train intensely with kettlebells. When you do that, your body is being taxed on a whole nother level, neurologically, and then also you're pushing your lactic acid threshold on a higher level. So recovery is always important. Now, when you're taxing the nervous system, you already know this, right? It's like my muscles could recover,
yes,
but I'm still tired.
I have this not argument, but I'm very big on telling the kids that because, they'll sit there and go, well, I mean, I'm not doing legs or I'm not wrestling today. I'm just going to go to the gym and do this. I'm like, guys, at a certain point, there's a systematic fatigue.
Yeah.
It's not just about your legs being tired, just about your grip or your neck or back or whatever we're working. I understand sometimes with injury, we do work other aspects of our body. You compensate, figure out what doesn't hurt that day, work around it. But a day off here and there is actually a really good idea because of the fact that your CNS system can be systematically overwhelmed where it's like, man, there's nothing you're going to do to get that rest besides rest.
Exactly. So, and the older you get, the slower you recover.
Yes, it does.
And then on the flip side, we're like, hey, if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you got to keep training. So you're telling me as I get older, my recovery slows down. My body naturally creates higher inflammation. And then whatever other lifestyle choices, environment, situation it is, that adds on to it. But then on the flip side, I have to keep training to keep my lifestyle so I can feel healthier. So I'm self-induced inflammation. So it almost becomes a double-edged sword, right? So how do you manage that, right? So that's why, for me, that's how I look at it, is like, I need to be able to train. If I can't train, do I like to train? I'm used to training psychologically. It throws me off. Like if I don't, I've been in Vegas for the last 2.5 weeks now. I haven't had my regular routine training because I'm just finally getting into the groove of things. But it was like almost like additional stress that I don't like to have because I haven't been able to train the way I want to train to let my steam off. So at 42 years of age, I just turned 42. It's like my recovery's definitely slowed down compared to 10 years ago or so. So it's huge, man, and it's literally more than medicine. It's a lifestyle. and you can use that. You can use the product for various reasons. It's like, the common things are, what does it do? Well, what can Blue Scorpion do for you is the better question.
Because of the fact that so many different peptides.
And it's
sometimes it kind of fixes, in the same mindset that when you take it orally, wherever your inflammation is, it kind of goes to that spot. That's what's giving off the signals. At the same time, you're saying, hey, there's so many things that fixes and corrects. If you have an area that it's going to go that way.
Exactly. And then take the lifestyle factor. Take away the training, and let's add lifestyle. Let's add stress, anxiety. Those create inflammation. That creates cellular inflammation because every little cell feels it,
right,
the strength of it. So if you can have a preventative measure and add it to your lifestyle regimen, something that's going to give you longevity, and help with inflammation management, that's where I see the value, especially in today's environment that we live in. So,
one area too to hit on before we go is homeopathic falls into two different categories, and I didn't actually know this. I still took the product and got involved in it. Probably would have helped me be less skeptical to begin with, which again didn't matter because I saw the proof in personal experience. But there were not the 3X where it's like, okay, this is actually, some products are just the residence. The water was around, but it isn't actually anything to do with it whatsoever. Where the ours falls under a different category, the homeopathic was like, well, no, it's just a different version of a dose. Would you mind explaining that?
Yeah, there's two versions of homeopathic dilution. There's the C dilution and there's the X dilution. So the C dilution is basically no molecular structure. It's just what it's called an energetic effect. The X dilution can have some residue. Okay, so for us, the bee venom and the poison ivy are at a higher dilution. What are they at? I forget. 6X dilution. So with the Blue Scorpion is 3X dilution. So there is a little bit of the remaining peptides, the naturally occurring peptides from the venom that are purified is still there. And then you already know about the quantum energy enhancement that we add to it. So
and that one you guys got to go back to the doctor.
Yeah, that's to be honest with you, Doc had this technology, the polarization technology, back in the mid-90s. That's when he created that technology. And it's not like it was something new, but he figured out how to polarize something and create stability where it stayed polarized. So that energetic effect stays there. Where current people haven't figured that out. They can polarize, but as soon as you turn it off, move it away from the machine, it just goes back to normal. So that's the difference maker with our products. And that's, honestly, we're on a mission to change the world. It's a new way of looking into medicine, naturally, safe.
The delivery system you guys have with the Blue Scorpion Venom, it could be, that technology can be used in other areas once people start catching on to this.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to do that with creatine.
Wow. I mean, creatine is probably the most effective
I want to do that
product that we know of in the supplement world. It's like, okay, this is legitimate. Yeah. So that's awesome if you can combine the two.
Yeah. And then there's we got to go follow the business plan here, but it's like we have other products that coming out, that are needed still, topical creams and sprays and a few other things, but all in due time. But this is the first one this is the flagship product, and everything kind of, just in general, everything kind of comes around that. But yeah, there's
now,
potential.
Everybody who's listening here, what's the best way for them to go ahead and just, what would you have to say to anybody who's on the fence about maybe taking the product? And then what would you say, how do they find it?
Anyone that's on the fence, I would first and foremost say, do your due diligence. Just get on Google, go to our website, bluescorpion.com. We have a lot of information on there. And then continue to do your research on Blue Scorpion Venom, benefits of it. And access to information is very simple now. Get on NIH, get on internet, just do your due diligence. And then ultimately you have to give it a try. You have to try it to see how it helps you, how it works with your body's, natural healing system.
That's the way I do it now with the family. You guys were kind enough to actually bless me with a couple bottles to go ahead and administer to the friends and family. So the few people that I know that are like, okay, you really need to take this, they want an explanation. I'm like, guys, hey, look, there's nothing that's going to harm you.
Yeah.
if anything, I'm not even wasting your time, but please take it. And I've yet to have no one call me back and go, what the hell? Like, where do I find it? How do I get on there? You know, I'm like, okay, well, hey, the first one was free. Now you guys got to, I'm like a drug dealer here.
Hey, you know what, though? That's exactly how it works because, like, I have a very close friend of mine that was, you know, clowning it until I was like, dude, just try it. Just try it. And then when he ran out, third day, he called me. He's like, I can feel the difference now. Right. He didn't have any issues either, but he was so optimized that he didn't notice it until he got off until.
We've talked about that before.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then also with a lot of fighters, bro, a lot of fighters are starting to catch attention. We've, you know, given samples out to them too. And same thing. It's like they're on it. So from a, you know, fighter standpoint, right? How do you see this helping with that? Like,
oh, this is a massive. The areas that the categories that it helps with. I wish that I'd have had access to this 20 years ago. What it does for as far as healing and speeding up the reaction of inflammation, and then a little bit of a pain reduction. Those categories are amazing for fighter to do drug free because, you know, obviously there's things out there, but hey, we still got to pass a drug test. And then second, you're not really left with a choice if you want to take something to make yourself get better. Sometimes it's stuck where I'm going to have to take ibuprofen, have to take the Tylenol to get through the practices and get through the workouts. Those don't come for free. There's a price you're going to pay.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that I've seen it myself where I've, you know, just recently, one of the products I take has Tylenol in it. And I was only taking what the doctors were giving me, but lo and behold, they came in the room. I was one of my last blood tests. They're like, hey, liver enzymes are kind of elevated. I'm like, oh, they're like, we're going to have to take you off the Tylenol. We'll give you a pure form of the whatever the drug they're giving me. I'm like, damn, okay. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
You guys are the doctors. You tell me. And so, again, it just shows you that a lot of the stuff out there that can help you, that fighters have access to. And we don't really have a choice to sit there and go, well, you know what? I'm just going to sit around, let my knee heal naturally.
Yeah.
Let my own body go ahead and just take over. I'll eat good. I'll just rest. Let, you know, time do its course. It's like, you got a fight coming up, buddy. You got to, I mean, you don't have to train on your knee. We can figure something out, but, you know, you got to get back in the gym. So now you're training, taping things up, reverting to things that, you know, are going to harm your kidneys, harm your liver. So this being something that does not do that and also helps you to a high degree is just a massive thing for the fighters.
Yeah, and then also, you know, when BPC was just a new thing, right? BPC 157, a lot of
actually,
fighters,
I was pretty, well, I guess I didn't discover it till after the peak of micros.
Yeah, so they were using it, and then that became a banned substance. You know, so they banned it. So it's like there's because it's synthetic, whatever the other reasons are, but you know, having a natural anti-inflammatory peptide, you know, that's going to help you. You know, that's ultimately what we want to do.
Have they banned the TB500 yet, too? I wonder. I need to keep up current on that. Which I think TB500 is thiamycin, right? The body, the stomach, I think naturally produces it.
It does.
So it's like, and watch. If it works, they'll ban it. Trust me.
I mean, I don't know the details on that one. We can look it up. But
later on.
Yeah, we can look it up. But it's like, you know, whatever the cause is, reasons are, you know, it is what it is. But for having a natural solution for just overall pain management. And now, again, it's not a replacement for something that's a strong pharmaceutical. You know, after your surgery, I'm sure you needed, you know, certain, you know, medication to manage that crazy pain you were in.
And I take Kratom, which is, it's weird. It's a natural thing, too, from a plant, and people freak out on that one. But until, you know, it's like, But at least I could take Kratom and not have liver enzyme problems, whereas nothing I take from the doctor, at any point, even if I take the dosages that they tell me to take, if I take it long enough, I got problems.
Yeah. So, but I've never taken Kratom, to be honest with you. I've never experienced that.
Oh.
And I've heard it can be addictive.
Yeah. You know, they say that, but I've run out of Kratom and don't freak out. Put it this way. When I've had procedures done and I'm on a pretty high medical dose of taking whatever painkiller, especially for the first 5 days afterwards, the first 5 days I left just from my back surgery. I'm on a lot of oxycodone, and then you cycle down and you get off of stuff, or you know, or a much smaller dose. That makes you kind of panic when you first get off it. There's like there is definitely to the synthetic opioids. There's definitely an addiction to that. I mean, to where there's times where like I'm like I like where it feels, especially not to be in pain to that degree that it can fix, and it makes you high.
Yeah,
I don't ever experience that with Kratom. In fact, I've gone out of town before, and I remember one time I went to we were out of town for vacation, not a fight or a job, and was out of Kratom.
Yeah.
In fact, it was actually one of the times I went to try another product besides the Mitrospec, because that wasn't the smoke shop that I had walked into, didn't particularly have it. And I tried some other stuff, and it was disgusting. I'm like, no wonder people don't try this, because if you don't try a company that a product that works and is somehow manageable to take, because that's disgusting. Some of the stuff that I took there, I'm like, there's no way you're going to convince me to take this every day. It would really have to like give me wings, fly around, like to do something like, whereas our product, the wellness, man, I have it. I'll share some if you want to try it. I always tell people just start with a small dose, because it didn't affect me that way, but I've had some friends when they first try it get almost like they start sweating, feel nauseous. I'm like, shit. You took what'd you take? Well, you took. I'm like, stop taking what I take. I've been taking this shit for years.
Yeah.
I make sure they take a small dose. And as far as pain management, I think it's great. Is it going to work as great as a regular synthetic pain pill you get from the pharmacy? No, that shit's much stronger. But as far as the price you have to pay, there hasn't been one. Like there's probably nobody that takes more Kratom than I do. Even when I go and hang out with the guys, they like look at me. It's an amazing amount that I can be on. And I have, every time I do my blood work, where I'm just taking that and not any of the other stuff, zero enzyme issues. Meaning that when your liver is under stress, it produces certain enzymes they can test for. So when I keep saying I can test my enzymes are elevated, never with Kratom. It's always been with any products that I take. Any pain management I take that's Tylenol in it, acetaminophen, that is just the problem. Yeah. And whenever I'm on high levels of ibuprofen for swelling or any type of inflammation management, my kidney looks under stress. So that's only 2 times those 2 products. The creatine's done neither or.
Nice. Well, that's
with pain management.
Yeah,
it does help.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this world, there's obviously not a one-stop solution to anything.
People have different chemical makeups of the body. Yeah.
Exactly. So, compounding it or mixing it too. But one thing about what this does versus like a Kratom one, we're basically helping cellular level inflammation relief, so it becomes a foundational product, and then you can build on top of it.
Yeah. So Kratom only fixes the issues. Yeah. I'm not gonna say. It does. No. It's a problem fixer as far as the very end. Oh, I'm gonna fix the pain, but what caused the pain, whatever issue you have, it's not gonna fix that.
Exactly. So this is where the difference comes into place. And one thing about our product is, like for example, the body is in pain for 3 reasons primarily. It's inflammation, muscle tension, and muscle weakness. Unless you have an impact, some sort of a contact, or you have any kind of a infection or anything like that, which also has inflammation involved, you shouldn't be in pain. But those are the main 3 reasons: inflammation, muscle tension, muscle weakness. So, and the reason why I say that is you take it and like, oh, my back still hurts. Most people don't understand what are the difference of pain, of back pain. Is it a tension pain? Is it inflammation pain? Is what I'm saying? So it's like, the reason I want to say this is for the audience to understand that if you have tension pain, Blue Scorpion is not going to get you out of tension pain. It's going to, now you can use it as almost like a product, almost like a process of elimination, right? Oh. Okay, took this, it was, it didn't help me with my pain, so chances are it's not inflammatory induced pain. Now it's tension. Go get a deep tissue massage. Go figure something, you know what I'm saying? So that's how we've also started utilizing it, especially for my family members. It's like, try this. If it doesn't work, then you have a tension issue, and then I'll guide you through what the next steps are to get out of tension pain.
That makes a lot of sense, especially because I personally don't feel a huge pain relief off the Blue Scorpion, but you've worked with me. I think a lot of my issues are not just inflammation induced, because I see the inflammation get fixed, but I'm still in pain because of the tension and obviously weakness.
Man, yours, bro. We have a man, dude, bro. I'll be honest with you. When I saw your video the first time, like when you did when you posted that video, like I was like, what the fuck happened? like, excuse me, but it's like, what happened? I was like, man.
Years of not recover therapy or anything like that, massage and just stress. A lot of things we've done, it's like, hey, have you ever had this done before? I'm like, or when you ask me, when was the last time you had somebody work on you like this? I'm like, never. Yeah. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that we're doing now, some of the therapy and stuff you're doing with me, I was like, nope, I've read about it and I wanted to find something, but like, I've just never it. Again, during especially my era of coming up, after the turn, 2000s, you got to remember people like Tito Ortiz. What was he bragging about? I train 8 hours a day, 2 hours of Muay Thai, 2 hours of weight training, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and, never talked about his recovery, never talked about whether he did or not. I'm not, probably not as much as he should have because I know Tito has some injuries too. But all of us were so beaten up. Everybody, it was train more, train harder, not train smarter, not rest, And, the guys now that have done that, almost all of us, just you walk around, you're like, we've been hit by cars.
Yeah.
Some of us have been hit by cars. but definitely that's why now with my kids, my daughter, my sons, I'm like such a stickler for it. Like, okay, hold on. They go to the gym. I trained this today. I'm like, okay, what did you recover? What's our rest today? What's our rest recovery tomorrow? And I really am on them all the time about, hey, guys, you see what I look like and the battles now that I'm facing. These weren't necessary. These were avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do things smarter so that you don't have these issues to this degree. I mean, some stuff's unavoidable. Is Bella going to have arthritis? Probably, yeah. Her body's still going through a lot. Does it have to be to the degree and the injuries that I have? No, it doesn't have to be. It could be a much smarter way about going about it. And right now, it's like for every 2 hours she trains, I ask for an hour of recovery. That's kind of when I look at her schedule. What I try to say to her, hell, if I really had it up to me, I'd make it 1 for 1.
Yeah.
There's times where I'm like really starting to think, I'm like, it should be the other way. For every hour you're training, let's do 2 hours of recovery to maximize that 1 hour. Why don't we have it to where your training is so much at a higher level? Everything, even sleep now. It's
what's her explanation like when you tell her to recover like after two?
She agrees with me. Well,
2 hours of training is a lot, bro. Like especially if you're intense training, that's a lot on the body. A lot on the body.
A ton. She wrestles in college right now. So the first coach she worked with in Iowa, that really wasn't her fault. They're running the practices, so there's only so much you can do about that. Her new coach now, Joe Norton, up there at North Central, is much more intelligent about it. They probably only do about 45 minutes hard wrestling as far as that type of practices. And then there's it depends on how their day went, on how hard the weight training session's going to be. But she's much bigger into, they only go live probably once every couple days, whereas that's a much smarter approach. Mm-hmm. Most places are just now catching up with the idea. They're going, hey, going live every day, sparring, wrestling live is probably not the best idea. Not just avoiding injuries and being healthier, but at the end of the day, being a better fighter at the end of an 8-week period, it's not the best approach. Because again, I think nobody will argue that the most important aspect of learning any technique is frequency. Mm-hmm. Reps. You know what I mean? Like what makes one guy better than another guy? At the end of 10,000 hours of training, what's the one factor that separates the guy after 10,000 hours or the person before they start that journey? It's like, well, they both can know the technique and spit it out probably just as well as each other, right? Describe how to swing a baseball bat. But as far as the amount of reps they've gotten in, one guy has 1,000,000 reps versus the guy that only has so many. Well, what do I have the biggest control? I can't control time, the amount of time I understand a technique. That goes on. What is really the factor that separates guys, I think, is reps. So if you go as hard as you can, and we have a practice right now, and I want to learn the double. If you never let me get it off and we go live, how many doubles do I really get into? Maybe 5 at the end of a 30-minute practice. Because you're battling with me. I got to set it up, and I'm trying to fight it and get in there. And then when I get in the double, so I only really got 5 reps, really. If I sit there and go, hey, we're going, but like you're the bad guy, I'm the good guy. You're learning a double, I'm learning a double. So for the first half hour, we intermittently change. And I go at a much lower level, but it's realistic as far as the look, the feel. Basically, we're like lions playing. Just play. Yeah. And so now I get, let's say, 50 reps in. I shot 50 times, got in. Some of them, maybe you fought me out at the beginning. Some you let me in halfway. Sometimes you let me finish the shot. At the end of a week, you have one guy that shot 300 shots. You have another guy that shots 25 or 30. At the end of the month, at the end of the year, the difference is phenomenally high. And that's really a huge difference. So that being said, not only is it easier and better to have a more structured technical practice as far as on your body, but the other aspect that I can control outside practice is recovery. How much are you resting, sleeping, getting the proper massages, nutrition, to make sure that when you get back in the gym, now you can do it again. Because if you're injured and you're hurt and it's painful to go to practice, you're not getting the same frequency. You're not going to get the same amount of reps and movement in. You're distracted mentally even from it because now you're focusing that shit, my back hurts every time I change levels and shoot in. Hey, man, can we practice a different thing? Which is understandable. Yeah. And again, you could control that to a certain degree if you're doing the proper recovery, nutrition, and looking at things like the Blue Venom Scorpion. What can I do to make it to where when I go to practice, I'm recovered and I'm ready to go? That's why when a lot of guys come up to me, a lot of the young guys, like, hey, man, they want that advice. Tell me something that, what should I do that would make me a champion? And always the one thing I do now in the last probably about 5 years, I'll say, how much do you sleep? Oh, man, I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night. I'm like, okay, that's stupid. I hate it when people romanticize in our culture. I only sleep for 4 hours, 6 hours a night. I'm up. I don't sleep. Sleeping anymore. I'll sleep enough when I'm dead. I'm like, yeah, that'll be soon. You know what I mean? Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you slept the proper amount of time, your 8 or 9 hours, and even took a nap in the day, you're going to be so much more effective. I always say this. Do you want to be a workhorse or a racehorse? A workhorse, I can get him up at dawn, and all day long, that fucker can pull the plow, and he can work. Yeah, he works 16 hours. I can put him to sleep. He gets back up. He works. Now, a racehorse, he's only good for probably his amount of time of sprint, power. But during that time, he's a high-performance, optimized athlete. Mm-hmm. And then when he's done, we're trying to recover, rest, massage. We put him away and say, hey, now rest and recover because I want a high level of performance out of you. I don't need – but you only have so much energy. We can use it towards being a high-level athlete, or you can go ahead and just draw it out and be a mediocre athlete all day long. So, I mean, I just tell you, what would you rather be?
Definitely a performance horse.
Yeah, so that's why, hey, get out there, rest, recover, sleep. That's why, again, this product is, you're right, for fighters, it's life-changing.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we're already seeing it happen. So, I think 2025 is going to be a monumental year for us. It's only going to get bigger and bigger, But yeah, I'm very excited, man. Very excited, bro, for you to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And to give the product a chance. And the same thing also is being open-minded, like, giving me opportunity to work with you because, it's kind of like, oh, he doesn't look much. I've always been judged by trust me, brother. I know I've always been judged, that way. It's like, oh, he doesn't much until we open it up and get it going. Because out of 10 kids, and I was a third out of 10, so it's 8 boys, 2 girls. So out of 7 boys, I can confidently say when I was a teenager, I was like that age group. I was like one of the weakest, in my family. So like I had that psychological effect that I remember 7th grade, I couldn't even do a single pull-up. Talk about trauma. For me, I felt like that was the most embarrassing moment of my life, not being able to do a single pull-up. So
you're surprised other people still can't.
Yeah, right. No. But I had to learn athletically. I wasn't gifted, but everything I know that might look like a gift was self-taught, was grinded through that skill set and nonstop. So that's the philosophy of, what we're just explaining, that just really honing in on a skill set and really working it. So but because we're fast tracking and how many sessions we've had, you're already, having progress at walking because of.
I tell people that all the time, like ad hominem, right? You don't attack the idea, you attack the person, attack the idea. I'm living open-minded. Everything, some people say, well, who's that? Who are you to say that, right?
Yeah.
I say, hey guys, that's a mistake. Don't do that because sometimes, you don't know who's saying what. You got to go on the value of what they're saying.
Yeah.
Test it out. You know what I mean? Try it out because you might miss a golden opportunity to learn if you ever close-minded and go, well, what are your credentials? How many world titles if you want? I'm like, hey, slow down. Hear what the person has to say. If they're saying something that you already know doesn't work through experience, because you used to think, okay, that's dumb. you should keep your hands down when you fight all the time. It's like, well, hold on a second. That's really contrary to popular belief. Chin up, hands down might not be the way to do this, guys. I don't need to go test that out. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the best way to do this. But, without that mindset of, giving people an opportunity. And again, that's why, at first I was really skeptical about the homeopathic aspect of it, and then tried it out for myself. And then he actually went back and kind of reversed, hey, shit, this works. I'm going to learn about it. Mm-hmm. And again, so people at home, where do we try it out? Where do they find it?
BlueScorpion.com.
That's pretty easy. That's us. There it goes.
And you can also find us on Instagram at Blue Scorpion Venom. So very easy to find.
And for those who follow me, if you don't find that easy, I actually have a hyperlink on mine at the Frank Mir. You can check it out. If for whatever reason you can't figure it out that way.
Yeah. There you go. And then also on the links on this podcast. So that's something, it's we're gonna very excited. We're growing big time, and we're very excited, to be honest with you, with this, with our partnership and relationship, because I feel like we're bringing best of both worlds together, Well,
you're giving me an opportunity now that I've said it long enough. Hey, you should do a podcast. Like, man, I don't know, and then now you guys made it easy for me. So turnkey, I show up, do what I do best, and go home, and you guys take over. So
that's right. So
hey, man, it was great having you, Huru. Awesome, man. Well,
Thank you.
Huru, I'll go ahead and see you a little bit later for practice.
All right, I'll see you at the gym, brother. Bye.